At some divisibility rules. We're gonna focus on numbers from 2 to 10, okay? And let's say I give you like some random number. Let's say I give you 556. This is our number we're gonna work with. And I'm asking you, okay, tell me all the numbers between 2 and 10 that can divide this number and we'll have no remainder. So, for example, 556 divided by 2, that's going to give you some number. We don't need to know what the number is. We're not going to get the number. We're just going to know if it's possible to get it without a remainder. So 556 divided by 2, this is fine because we know that it's an even number because it ends in an even number. And you can divide any even number by 2. So that's 2 right there. So we already know some of this, right? This is like something that we've already been used to. So we know for 2 already. So for 2, it just needs to be an even number and you're good to go from there. So that's just an even number. Now how would you do for 3? So for 3, what you do is you add up all the digits individually. So you would do 5 plus 5 plus 6. And you end up getting 10 plus 6 is 16. And then you check, is 16 divided by 3? This is way easy to check. Well, we know 16 is not divisible by 3, right? And it is, but you get 5, but then you also get a remainder of 1. So that means 556 is not divisible by 3. So what you do for 3 is you add digits and then divide the sum. You can check this, by the way, for this number and you will see that it's true. And then divide sum by 3. And this is like a small number, so it's easy to check. But let's say I give you like an insanely big number, like in the millions. Well, even if you add up all the digits, you will still end up getting like 50 something. And then you can check if that's divisible by 3. Now, how do you check for 4? So for 4, what you do is you check the last 2 digits. So you check 5 and 6. So that's 56, right? So if last 2 digits are divisible by 4, and of course when I say divisible, that means that no remainders are divisible by 4, then the whole number is going to be divisible by 4. So it's 56 divisible by 4. Well, let's check. We know 4 times 10 is 40, so 4 times 11 is 44, 4 times 12 is 48, 4 times 13 is 52, and 4 times 14 is 56. So this is divisible by 4. So that works. So 4 works, 3 doesn't work, 2 works. Okay. So let's do 5. For 5, it's very easy, and this will make sense. If the last digit is 5 or 0, then it works. And this is not 5 or 0, so of course this does not work. So if last digit is either a 0 or 5, then works. Well, in this case, this is a 6, so it does not work. 56 divided by 5 will not give you a number. It will give you a number, but then with a remainder. So it works for 2, doesn't work for 3, works for 4, doesn't work for 5. For 6, how do you check? Well, for 6 is actually very easy. So you check if it's divisible by 2. So if 2 works, so this must happen, and if 3 works. So if 2 and 3 both work, and I guess you can see why 2 and 3 both need to work, because 2 times 3 is 6. So if 2 and 3 both work, then this whole thing is going to be divisible by 6. So let's check. Well, we know it's divisible by 2, but it's not divisible by 3. So that means that this is not going to be divisible by 6 in our case. What about 7? Well, we'll come to 7 later because that's the most difficult one. So let's leave 7 out. 8 is like not that useful in our case because you need to check if the last 3 digits are divisible by 8. So check if last 3 digits, and it's not useful in our case because we only have 3 digits in this case, 556, so that's not very useful. But let's say I gave you a number in the millions, then this could be helpful. So check if last 3 digits are divisible by 8. Well, let's try it in our case. So 556, well, I know 8 times 70 is equal to 560, right? So that means 8 times 69 is going to be equal to 552. So that means 556 is between 69 and 70, so that's actually going to be 69.5 because it's halfway through. So that means it's not divisible by 8. So in our case, not divisible by 8. How do you check for 9? Well, for 9, it's very similar to 3, but it's not the exact same. So you add the digits. So in this case, our sum will still be 16. So you add the digits, and then divide the sum. Well, instead of 3, you divide it by 9. So you divide sum by 9. So in our case, we do 5 plus 5 plus 6 is 16. And then 16 divided by 9 is going to give you a number with a remainder. So that does not work in our case. And 10, of course, if the last digit is 0. So if last digit is 0, then that works. Okay, so let's try, before we go to 7, let's try some other numbers. So let's try 424. So let's see if this works. Okay, so is it an even number, so it's divisible by 2. Is it divisible by 3? Let's check. So we do 4 plus 2 plus 4, so that's 4 plus 2 plus 4 is 10. So 10 is not divisible by 3, so that's not going to work. Is it divisible by 4? Let's check. So the last two digits are 2 and 4, so that's 24. And 24 is divisible by 4. 4 times 6 is 24, so this works. It's not divisible by 5 because the last digit is not 0 or 5. It's not divisible by 6 because it's not divisible by 3. We don't know about 7 yet. For 8, let's check. Well, I know 8 times 50 is 400. That means 8 times 53 is going to be 424. So it works for 8. So for 8, you just need to be good at mental maths and you'll be able to know. So it works for 8. What about 9? Does it work for 9? Well, we added the things and it ended up as 10. So since 10 is not divisible by 9, or at least it is, but it will give you a number. It will give you a remainder, so it's not divisible by 9. And it's not divisible by 10 either because the last digit is not 0. So it works for 2, works for 4, works for 8, and that's it. So now let's look at 7. How does 7 work? So what you do is you take the last digit. So take last digit, and we'll do it with both the numbers we have up there to see if any of them are divisible by 7. So you take the last digit, multiply it by 2. So that's the first step. So let's stop there. So take the last digit and multiply by 2. So when we have 556, 556. So we take 6 and you multiply by 2. So you end up getting 12. Okay. What you do is you do the remaining digits minus the answer that you got in the previous thing. And then we check if that's divisible by 7. So check if divisible by 7. So how do we do that? Well, so we did 556. So we did 6 times 2 is 12. And let's do 55 minus 12. So 55 minus 12 is going to give you 43. And now 43 is not divisible by 7 because we know 7 times 5 is 35, 7 times 6 is 42, 7 times 7 is 49. So this is not divisible by 7. Let's check 424. So we take the 4 over here, multiply by 2, so we get 8. And we do 42 minus 8, and this gives us 34. So that's also not divisible by 7. So let's do a number that would be divisible by 7. Let's make our number. So we have, let's do 700 and, well, we know 777 will be divisible by 7, right? That's obviously going to work. So let's try it. So we take our 7, the final 7 right here, multiplied by 2. So 7 times 2, and that gives you 14. Then we do 77 minus 14. So 77 is this right here, these two. We do 77 minus 14, and we end up getting, well, that's going to be 63. And we know 63 is 7 times 9, so this works. That means the whole number is divisible by 7, so that's good. And actually, this number is also divisible by 3 because 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21. And 21 is divisible by 3, so that works. So let's check what 77 is divisible by. It's not divisible by 2 because it's not an even number. It's divisible by 3. It's not divisible by 4 because 77 is not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 5 because the last digit is not 0 or 5. It's not divisible by 6 because it's not even. Even though it's divisible by 3, it's not divisible by 2. So this is not divisible by 6. It's divisible by 7, of course, we just checked. Is it divisible by 8? Let's check. So we know 8 times 100 is going to be 800. So that means 8 times, let's say, 95 is around 760. So that means 8 times 96 is going to be 768. Then 8 times 97 is going to be 776. And then 8 times 98 is going to be 784. So we can see 777 is between these two numbers right here. So that means it's not divisible by 8 because it has to be exactly a multiple of 8. So it doesn't work for 8. Does it work for 9? Well, it doesn't because 21 is not divisible by 9, so that's not going to work. And of course, it's not divisible by 10 because the last digit is a 7, which is not a 0. So yeah, these are just like some fun divisibility rules if you want to know how to divide big numbers, or if you just want to know if they are divisible by anything. So yeah, 2, even number. 3, you add the digits and then divide the sum by 3. 4, if the last digits are divisible by 4, then it works. For 5, if the last digit is either 0 or 5, then it works. For 6, if it's divisible by 2 and 3, then it will work. For 7, you take the last digit, you multiply it by 2, and then you subtract the answer from the remaining digits and check if that's divisible by 7. If that works, then the whole thing works. For 8, you check if the last 2 digits are divisible by 8. For 9, you add the digits and then you divide the sum by 9 and see if that works. And for 10, if the last digit is a 0, then it works. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that video and hopefully you learned something. If you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see in future videos.